Hello, everybody. It's great to do another live stream. It's been a while. This is a little early. It's an hour earlier than normal, so we'll give some time for people to hop on. And of course, I have my notifications turned on, but I haven't got my notifications that I started live streaming yet. So I always like to give a few minutes for people to hop on. And this is an hour early, and I just wanted to hop on for a little bit to kind of give a channel update and also talk about a very fascinating conversation I had with three individuals who will be coming on. Who I will be interviewing next week, who are making some interesting claims to have translated ancient gold plates from the Middle East. The person who did the translation is a non-member. This is a person actually who's affiliated more with the Messianic movement, which are, I guess you could say, followers of Yeshua. They don't necessarily call themselves Christian, but they do believe, in one sense, they're followers of Yeshua. And I will talk a little bit about that, but I just want to do a little bit of update for the channel. Most people who watch the live stream actually watch it after I did it live, and it doesn't help that I'm doing this an hour early. But the main reason I'm doing it early is because I have a friend of mine who's heading back up north tonight, and so I wanted to spend some time with him. And then at 10 o'clock Eastern time, there's going to be a live stream, Mormonism After Dark with Bill Reel and RFM, and I'm going to appear on that for that. That's kind of an interesting and developing story that I'll be again doing a live stream tonight at 10 Eastern, 8 Mountain on Mormon Discussions Inc.'s Mormonism After Dark program that they do every Friday night. So I want to just talk a little bit about the past couple weeks, which I've been able to travel. By the way, if there's people in the chat, if you want to just let me know that you're hearing me loud and clear, let me know. Also, for those of you who want to get a shout out by making a donation to the channel, this would be a great time to do it in the chat as well. But I just wanted to go and talk a little bit about my two trips that I took to Pennsylvania as well as to Arizona. And then I'm going to talk about the plates. But I want people are still jumping on, so I want people to kind of hear this live. So went to Arizona. I went to Pennsylvania first for the General Conference of the Church of Jesus Christ. It was a really wonderful time. Had the opportunity to meet with Chief Midiga, which was very interesting, and also got to witness 12 new members baptized in the Church of Jesus Christ. The weekend was phenomenal. The people were lovely and wonderful. I hugged literally hundreds of people. They really appreciate what this MBR has done to put their church on the map, which I feel is kind of indicative of kind of a prophetic thing. Also, I just want to remind people, make sure you give this video a thumbs up so that it gets in front of more people as well. So that was a really wonderful conference because I will admit, Jonathan Felt says, hearing you loud and clear. This is Jonathan from this morning. Oh yeah, Jonathan. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about our conversation we had today. And by the way, Jonathan, let me know if you are on Facebook, because I made a friend request to you as well as to your man Miles Jones. I'd like to be able to tag you when we do our interview next week. So the general conference was, like I said, wonderful. I came in there, like I said, I was just kind of worn out and tired and a little also concerned about how my ears would perform on the flight, which did great. Flying there was wonderful. And then I got recharged. I really felt blessed and edified by attending the general conference of this church. They are the third largest church in the Restoration, and they have been doing their own thing for a very long time and only recently have put themselves out there to start talking to other aspects of the Restoration, as well as to other Christian groups as well. And I'm glad to have helped facilitate those conversations. So then it was great. It was wonderful. I've posted a bunch. I've done a few shorts that I've shown. I even did Chief Midiga's talk to the general conference. I actually have another Chief Midiga thing I'll be posting where he gave a brief talk before that. And I'll probably feature some more clips from the songbook, The Songs of Zion. So when I flew back in, my ear did give me a little trouble on the descent, but the next morning I woke up and I was fine. So I knew I was fit to fly to Mesa on Wednesday. And so I wanted to just tell you, I had a wonderful time in Mesa, attended a Church of Jesus Christ service in their Mesa branch. And then afterwards went to Robert Messick of Book of Mormon Editions YouTube channel and stayed at his home. His lovely teenage daughter actually let me sleep in her room while she had the couch in the basement. And before we tied things up for the evening, she actually presented this to me. It is a cover of the Book of Mormon that she painted, and it's a lovely thing. Her name's Kimberly, and I'll probably post some pictures on Facebook this weekend where she presents to me this Book of Mormon. Isn't that beautiful? She took the time to do this. Robert has wonderful kids. They were engaging. They were very interesting, and they had a lot of intellectual curiosity and wanted to talk. And that was great because unfortunately, a lot of teenagers that I run into now, they're just so addicted to their screens. It's like you're not even there. So I think Robert is doing a great job raising his kids. And this is a lovely addition to my collection here at MBR. The reason I went to Utah was because I was invited by Robert to attend the Mesa Easter pageant, which I found out afterwards is actually the largest Easter pageant in the world. So there, that night, which was Thursday night, so it was the day before Good Friday, so it was a week ago yesterday, I got to go to the Easter pageant. And the day before, David Boycers reached out to me, and David Boyce of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks is like, man, I want to do something. I didn't even think of doing the Easter pageant, so I'll fly out there and meet you. So got to sit with Robert and with David and David's family, and got to meet his mother, who gave me a nice stone from Sidonia, where they're from, and tells me there's stones like that everywhere. And we had a lovely time. And actually, David actually then posted a video this week about his experience attending the Easter pageant in Mesa. And it was a wonderful time. It was great. There were a few people that recognized me, including one of the three wise men. So that was cool. I got a personal backstage tour of the pageant by the chairman of the pageant, and actually backstage. So I actually then also, before that we did the backstage, I actually got to go into the costume department, the makeup department. I actually got to see and feel the hairs on Jesus's wig that the character who plays Jesus wore. It's made out of real human hair and costs like $5,000 to $7,000 just for that wig. So everything was first class, as you might imagine, with what the church does. They do a fantastic job. It was great to meet a lot of people out there. Some drove down, like Porter Moody. He's a friend of mine, young man who drove down to meet with me and Robert, and he had a great time conversing with us, and that was really great. And I was presented by the head of the costume department this book, the Mesa Easter Pageant. It's the 80th anniversary book. And so this is a really cool collection to the Mormon Book Review's collection as well. Okay, so now that there's been a few people on, and also feel free to participate in the comments. This is the opportunity for those of you who have any questions or comments or want to interact with me. I love doing these Friday night chats. Again, I know it's a little earlier than normal, but I do have some things on my schedule that I got to attend to this evening. So I just wanted to do like a brief little update to the channel, let everybody know all the good things that are happening, the fact that I was able to travel again, the fact that it had no ill effect on my ears and my health means I can start doing what I love doing more than anything. And that is meeting people. I was talking to the Cultural Hall on the phone today, and I was like, man, we got to get together for lunch. He's like, let's do it. I said, because the key thing is I love meeting the people. That's what energizes me. That's all those hugs that I received and I was able to give at the general conference was fantastic. All the wonderful people that I was able to engage with in Arizona was wonderful. Jason Wharton says, glad to hear your health is holding up. I am very grateful for my health. And I've also had some hearing. There's been improvement in my hearing in my right ear. So that's good news as well. Okay, so let me just talk about the main reason I'm doing this stream is I just wanted to kind of preview an interview I will be doing next week with some interesting gentlemen. One of them is in the chat, Jonathan Felt, and he works with this gentleman by the name of Dr. Miles Jones. And he's written a series of books called Sons of Zion. I always want to say Songs of Zion. Sons of Zion versus Sons of Greece, Volume 1, The Survival of the Hebrew Gospels and the Messianic Church. And then the second book he sent me was Messianic Church Arising, Sons of Zion versus Sons of Greece, Volume 2. Apparently the pirates of the Caribbean or somewhere were actually Messianic Christians or followers of Yeshua, according to this hypothesis, which I find very fascinating. But the main reason I'm having him on in particular, I actually want to talk about this because he believes that that the Gospels, or that the New Testament was originally written in Hebrew and then later was translated into Greek, and as opposed to the consensus of most biblical scholars is that the original autographs were in Greek. They claim that it's in Hebrew. So I think that's an interesting conversation worth having. Especially, I had Val, and I don't remember as a big. I'll mess up the last name, but I had a gentleman who was a professor from BYU for many years, who actually was in on this Zoom call as well. And will all be joining us in the conversation. And he talks about how the Hebrew, I guess you could say the restored Hebrew text, or the original Hebrew text, contains many of the plain and precious things that were removed from the Greek manuscripts. That's some Book of Mormon lingo there. That's restoration lingo. And I just find it very interesting that you have a non-member who's actually uncovering plain and precious things that were removed from the New Testament. So I don't know. We'll look into it. I think Val Brinkerhoff. That's Brinkerhoff. Val Brinkerhoff. Thank you, Jonathan Felt, for telling me about the third. I knew it. I was going to say Bicker tonight because I've been, of course, hanging with the Bicker tonight so much, and I knew I would mess it up. So basically, okay. So what about these plates? What am I talking about? Golden plates from the Middle East being translated? Like, I told them, I said, you're making that claim, you're getting to the front of the line here on MBR. And remember last year, it's been a little over a year ago now, I had Dan McClellan on because there was this big thing about these plates that were found in the Middle East. First one on the Rude Awakening, which is a non-LDS program, and is kind of like a messianic program. And then a few days later, it gets picked up by my friends over at the Stick of Joseph. And then it gets picked up by, I believe, David Alexander, by Ward Radio. And they're running with this thing that they found gold plates that kind of seems to confirm the plausibility of gold plates being used in the Middle East, which of course is something anybody who's interested in this subject would be truly fascinated by. And Jonathan Felt is putting in here. He's one of the people actually who got me in touch with Miles, and I've had many conversations with Jonathan Felt. These are referenced as the Zadak plates. Priests of Zadak, who was John the Baptist, were Jesus and his disciples part of the Zadak community. So this is kind of an alternative view that perhaps you haven't heard before. But apparently, these plates that I had Dan McClellan come on, because I went to somebody and said, well, who should I have on? What scholar should I have on to kind of address this thing that was just taking off in apologetic circles like crazy. Like a bunch of people were jumping in on this thing. And then I had Dan McClellan on, and essentially that shut the whole thing down. And of course, Dan McClellan is a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Dan McClellan is a highly regarded biblical scholar. And that seemed to end the conversation. I actually then received a text from John DeLynn a few hours after I had did the interview. And John said that was a great get. And of course, 3-4 days later, Dan McClellan was on Mormon Stories. But by that time, it was pretty much over. But that whole story. So, of course, me having an open mind, I'm always interested in things like, the Bat Creek Stone, the Ohio Decalogue Stone, the Los Lunas Decalogue in New Mexico, other objects that may be out of place in the conventional narrative that the scholarly establishment would be talking about. I've always been fascinated by it. So I was just like, well, I'm just going to keep an open mind on all this stuff. I even had Scott Walter come on last year of the History Channel, who authenticated, in his words, he claims to have authenticated the Bat Creek Stone as being an ancient relic. Okay, well, he's got some cred in this area. But he also then came back on and discredited or debunked the Burroughs Cave objects. Okay, good episode. But then I hear from people in the Burroughs Cave community who've reached out to me and said, listen, we believe that, yes, there are some fakes, but we believe we've identified some authentic objects that were found in the Burroughs Cave, and we'd like to come on and talk about it. I said, okay, so I've been in talks with them. I'll probably be lining up an interview with them to take another look at the Burroughs Cave. And then I get reached out. Jonathan Felt reaches out to me, and I just wanted everybody to know how this all came together. So Dr. Miles Jones was, and I believe Jonathan, I'm not sure if you were a guest on the program, but Dr. Miles Jones was on Dr. Nehemiah Gordon's program. And he said, have you guys talked to Steve Peinecker? because you need to talk to them about this stuff. And they're like, no. And they're like, let's check them out. And so they reach out to me, tell me, and I had them watch some videos. I said, listen, you need to watch the Dan McClellan stuff, the stuff that we put out here on the channel, and kind of how that kind of just put the whole, like, just basically ended that as being a story in the LDS community. Well, they claimed to have actually translated these things. Now, one of the things Dan McClellan said, that these objects were nonsensical, that they had different things from different languages in there, and that's what proved them to be a hoax. Like, it was somebody who was not familiar with language. But apparently, okay, so Jonathan, you were also on the interview with Nehemiah. Oh, great to know. And so you're going to get to know Jonathan Felt. You're going to get to know Dr. Miles Jones. And then he asked me if I believe in the Book of Mormon. I said I did. Yeah, Jonathan is a believer in the Book of Mormon and works with Dr. Miles Jones ministry. And so this is going to be Miles Jones. I always want to say Miles Davis, but it's Miles Jones. And what's his name? Val Brinkerhoff, who was a really great guy, brought a lot to the table from an LDS perspective, a restorationist perspective, which I think is important to bring into the table whenever we're talking about gold plates in the Middle East. And Miles Rogers Jones. Okay, so that's good to know. Miles Roger Jones is his first name. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing here. Again, we're just a little light on the audience tonight because we're a little, it's a little earlier than normal that we do, but I just want to give everybody an update on the channel. So I'm going to go back to these so-called Zadak plates and have them on and make their case. And I told Dan McClellan on my interview the other day that I had with him, I said, there's some guys claim to have translated them. I'd love to hear your response. I'll send that video to Dan and see what he has to say about it. The scholarly consensus is that there's very few people that accept these relics as being authentic. But that doesn't mean that, hey, if people want to look at it from a different set of eyes, a different lens, and can bring something to the table that maybe overturns the academic consensus, I'm more than happy to do that. I love doing that kind of thing. And again, I want the audience to be participatory in this. And I'm really excited that we're going to be having this conversation. Also working on some other plate stories. So, there's still a lot of things that are brewing, man, that are just kind of exciting. And it's really awesome to be in that intersection of these stories and also meeting with people and becoming friends with them. And really, I had this great interview with Dr. Kyle Bashirs and Stefan Traeger of BYU that I taped earlier this week that I'll be posting sometime next week. And I said, man, it's the conversations that are off camera are so much more awesome than the conversations on camera. And they all agreed. We taped for an hour and then we were on the Zoom for another hour and talk about just awesome dialogue to be able to have me, an evangelical layman, Dr. Kyle Bashir is a well-regarded biblical scholar and Mormon scholar. And then Stefan Traeger, who's like really, a really influential individual in the religious studies department over a religious education department. I forget which one he works at at BYU. And just the three of us being able to just talk about the Book of Mormon, man, was awesome. Different translation theories, different ways of, just looking at all the different ideas out there. That's the one thing about Mormonism. You'll never you'll never run out of things to say and have conversations with. And that's why I love the restoration so much. And we'll go from there. So Dan says, bring it. Yep. Dan, bring it. Jonathan Phelps says, I don't know if Dan will respond to it. He's really big and everything. But I think if there is some stuff that's put out there that, in the bloodstream, and maybe this reinvigorates this idea that these plates might be authentic via the translation. I actually haven't seen the translation yet. I kind of said I don't want to know a whole lot going into the interview. I kind of want to learn about this as the audience sees it as well. Sometimes that gets me in trouble, but most of the time I love doing that. And so I'm really excited about this opportunity to share the work that they've been doing on these plates and just let the audience decide. Again, I think there's a growing level of evidence that I think will be coming out that makes the Book of Mormon, the plates claims that Joseph made about the plates. I think they're starting to have new evidence coming out that makes the Book of Mormon plates more plausible, that I think will have to cause scholars to reconsider their dismissal of Joseph Smith's claims about the plates. That's all I can say. But I think that we're on the precipice of a lot of interesting things happening. I'm not saying there's a sealed portion out there that's going to be revealed. I know people that believe that very strongly that's going to happen. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm just talking about in a secular, scholarly manner. I think there's going to be new things coming out that will cause people to have to reconsider the claims that Joseph made about these plates. And anytime we can have conversations that make us reconsider the dominant historical narratives and realize that, every once in a while they get turned over when new information comes about, I think that's a good thing. That's really how the scientific method works. That's how good scholarship works, is that it never gets dogmatic. And unfortunately, people can be dogmatic, but the actual scientific method and the process of scholarship is done in such a way in which, yes, something that could be a fringe theory today could make their way into the mainstream within a generation, which has happened in many instances. Jason Wharton says there is a sealed portion available now. Yes, there are people who make claims that the sealed portion has already been revealed. We'll see. Some of them have proven to be frauds, but there are others that are still being investigated. And there are Latter-day Saints that I personally know believe in some of these sealed portion as being legit. So let's bring it all on. Let's talk about it. This is what the beauty of this channel is. We're able to do and have these wonderful conversations. So real quick, I'm just going to hang on here for another minute or two. If anybody has any questions or comments, this is the time. If you would like to make a donation, this would be a great opportunity to get a shout out from me. Just to wrap this up, and again, if anybody wants to bring anything up, you can. Jason Wharton says, love it, Steve. Thank you. I will be going on a live stream for a little bit tonight at 10 o'clock Eastern time on Mormonism After Dark on the Mormon Discussions platform on YouTube. So we're going to have a conversation about some things that have been developing over the course of the last week or so. I hope that whatever comes of this meeting, that we can just try to make this as a means of trying to return to civility. I think that there's just too much hate going on. I think there's just too much bickering. I think there's just too much people trying to do harm to other people. And I think we just need to stop this. And I think we need to just kind of say, what are we doing here? We're just these dumb podcasters making videos. And why are we weaponizing it? I'd much rather have conversations that are fruitful, that are civil, and that move things in a positive direction. And I've multiple times, people who have attacked me, I've always extended the olive branch to these people. And the fact that they won't accept it is so telling of these individuals. So we're going to be talking about that. Hey, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I want to wish everybody, of course, the sun will be setting soon. So the Sabbath will be starting for our friends in the Messianic and Jewish communities. Want to wish them a happy Sabbath. And for those of you who are regular Sunday going Christians, I hope you are able to get to church this past Sunday. I was able to get to my church. It's the Harvest Sarasota, for the Easter service, which was very uplifting. Haram Boy says fraudulent golden plates, as if. Jonathan Felt says Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Jonathan. And Jason Wharton gave $20. All right, woohoo! $20 in the super chat. Thank you very much. Keep up the great work, bringing exposure to new information and helping things stay positive. Thank you, Jason, for the $20 and your positive words and your contribution. It's always a blessing. I'll tell you, this is a shoestring operation. It's essentially a one-man operation with my friend, Anthony, who helps me with the thumbnails and a few things here and there. But basically, this is just a one-man thing with hopefully God's hand on it. And we're going in a positive direction. Mom and I's health is doing better. Mom traveled this past Sunday to Naples, Florida, to see my sister and her children and grandchildren. And so that was great. Mom's traveling again, so her health has improved. I'm very positive now that my hearing has improved and my ears aren't bothering me as much, that I can start living life fully again. And so that's about it. So wrapping this thing up, actually went a little longer than I did. Jason, again, thank you so much for the $20 contribution. It's greatly appreciated. Love you very much. Love everybody. And remember, the most important thing is this: all the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.